And how many of people have played with type in Photoshop? I mean, like, seen what it does and everything. A couple people I'm seeing. Okay. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. It's limited in its capability compared to Illustrator or InDesign. So my recommendation is not to use it unless you have to, unless someone gives you a file that's in Photoshop, you know, that you need to pop your text in there. But that's my recommendation. I'll show you a couple, two different things that I would probably recommend you do with Photoshop and type, should you find the need to create some kind of headline or something that. So here I'm just going to really quick show you basically how it works. So I'm going to kind of click and drag, create my box. I can make it larger, smaller, typically much like InDesign. Creates a layer here on the right. It'll default to layer 1. You can tell it's a type layer, of course, by having this little T next to it. You can name that layer. For the demo purposes today, I'm going to just call it lawn. At any time when you lose your type layer on the pasteboard here, or the image panel, you can just double click the T within the type layer and just start typing what you want here. So my text is right now this light pink color. This is my point size 10.4. I'm Myriad Pro Italic, etc. So here's one of the panels that you can use to edit this type. I could bring it up to 60, 72. Let's see. Pick something that's a little more like bold. There we go. Just gonna click up here, just shift click to make this thing large, faster. Another thing, of course, you can duplicate a layer, so you can do that again in multiple ways. For this type layer, I can option click and drag here in the layers palette to copy it. There's my copy. I could drag it down in this new layers icon here on the bottom right, and then that'll copy it as well. So right now, your type is going to be in vector format. I can't place any photos within this type right now, but what you can do is actually double click on the layer that you want, and then go up to image, and I think it's type, yep, and then rasterize type layer. So now I can kind of tweak this up in Photoshop with all of these tools that I have. Maybe I'll just do one of these warp tools, like a smudge or something. I mean, say I just wanted to make this larger so we can see it. Turn my caps off. It's still small. Oh, sorry. There we go. So I can only do this type of thing to a rasterized type. I can only edit it with some of the Photoshop tools when it's rasterized. I can't touch it when it's, I can't touch it when it's a vector. So that's one of the reasons why you'd probably want to rasterize type. You wouldn't want to rasterize type within Photoshop before you have it at 100% the size that you want. I'll just quick demo it. What I can do is really, I'll grab both of these type layers, and I'm going to stretch them out as far as I can to be just obscenely giant. So really, when you go in here, this piece here being my rasterized type, you can see that the edges are all faded, pixelated. This other piece up here, the type that's remain vector is solid. So that's really the big difference that's going to happen with the rasterized type, besides being able to edit it beyond what you would just edit with normal type. I'm going to select the vector type, and I'm just going to go and show you the palettes. The palettes here. You have your paragraph palette, you have your character palette. So these are all the options you can do. You can kern type, you can lead words or sentences, so on and so forth. Track, which is kerning, but just for multiple letters, so I just call it kerning. Yeah, you can, all of these features you can do here. So open those palettes, mess with them, should you need to. Also, it supports paragraph and character styles. Much like InDesign, you'll notice though that when let's say I'll make a new paragraph style for this. When I go into this paragraph style options palette, it's really limited as far as in comparison to InDesign. So another reason why you probably will only want to use your type within Photoshop for things like headlines or type treatments that you don't use all the time in some kind of layout or design. Okay, so that's it for the vector paragraph style. I'm going to open an image. You know what, I'll do this one. So one of the only other reasons why you might want to rasterize your type is if you want to kind of cut your type out from any kinds of backgrounds or anything like that. So really, I just created, a duplicate of this grass background here. In my layers palette, I'm going to flatten these layers, merge them. Again, I just plopped it in there, did an option click, drag, release to duplicate it. And then essentially what I can do is select this rasterized lawn typeface file or layer, Command A, hit my move tool, nudge it up and down. You can see that it's going to trace it. Now I'm really just going to hide this layer because I don't really need it anymore. All I really need is its outline. Then I'm going to Command Shift I. It's created, a duplicate of this grass background here. In my layers palette, I'm going to flatten these layers, merge them. Again, I just plopped it in there, did an option click, drag, release to duplicate it. And then essentially what I can do is select this rasterized lawn typeface file or layer, Command A, hit my move tool, nudge it up and down. You can see that it's going to trace it. Now I'm really just going to hide this layer because I don't really need it anymore. All I really need is its outline. Then I'm going to Command Shift I, or otherwise you can go to where is it? Layers, select, and select. Where is it? Command Shift I. Yeah, Command Shift I. That'll select the inverse. Select my copy or that grass layer, and then just delete it. So that's pretty much. You can do that in InDesign too. If you wanted, the only reason why you'd probably want to do that in Photoshop is that you could do maybe a little bit more to it, especially when you consider this effects palette here. So essentially you can select any of these effects here from the bottom of the palette once you have your layer selected, your rasterized layer selected. And then this layer style palette is going to come up. And here I can preview what's going on. Right now I just have a simple bevel and emboss on the type. Looks super photoshopped, right? You can tweak the depth of it, so if I look at that letter N, I can kind of gauge what the rest of the words are going to kind of follow as far as the look. I can, as far as the bevel and emboss option, I can make it go up or down. You can use this to mock up for a client, perhaps, what a logo might look like when it's knocked out of a purse or something, or embossed in a menu cover or something like that. After the finished print process, then the client signs off on it, and then you say, okay, great, that Photoshop file really sold this piece. Now I'm going to send it off to press. So clients like to see stuff that's looks like it's actually there. Can't really use their imagination too much. So the size of the depth of it can go up or down here. You can make it even softer, so it's kind of bubbly. You can make it harder, so it's more chiseled. Adjust the shading angles here. You can do this stuff in Illustrator too. You have so many options. If I was to go through all these, it'd just be insane. So what is this? Contour, texture. You can just overlay a texture over it. So for the texture palette, now I'm going to click on the texture palette within Bevel and Emboss, and I can scale what texture I have there. Right now it's this little rocky, gritty looking thing. You might have a need for some of that stuff. The depth can go up or down. You can invert it. I mean, you can do all kinds of stuff. Add a stroke. Now I have a bevel, emboss, and a stroke, so it's looking really photoshopped here. Make this stroke larger, position it inside, outside, center, change the color. Just all day long you can just do this. Of course, the most popular, there's inner shadow. So let me take this off. Here's your inner shadow. Maybe that might look, yeah, okay. I would probably go for that, That looks reasonable. You can change the blending mode of the shadow. You can change the color of the shadow. So right now I have it on multiply. I'm going to make the shadow like this. Maybe I'll make it a green. I can actually take my eyedropper tool here once I have this color picker, this color swatch clicked. Now I can take my eyedropper and just sample a color out of the actual image. Hit OK. Maybe set it for a normal blending mode. Make it darker, so increase the opacity of it. Yeah, maybe I'll set it to multiply again. Yeah, there we go. So now the shadow looks a little bit, like green. Maybe that's what it would look better as, perhaps. I'll put it back to black. Inner glow. Again, kind of just play with that. It doesn't really do much for me. Satin. Again, I'm not. Here's kind of a preview box of what this is going to be doing here. Color overlay, just play with it. This is basically just going to flood your entire image with color. Turn them on and off. Doesn't hurt to mess with them. Gradient overlays, same deal. This is basically just applying a gradient over the entire thing. So it's a quick way of doing it without using the gradient tool here and undoing and redoing and undoing and redoing. You could just turn it on and off. And then finally the famous drop shadow that everyone knows and loves. Increasing the size, the opacity, the spread of it. You can do all that from this palette. So I encourage you to find what works for your image and just